guest for tonight. I welcome Miss Erin Dahle to the stage. She's our academic program coach here at Dahle Avenue, and she's here with some tips and tricks, probably, on how we can support our students when they appear for their student state testing in April and May. So it's going to be a fun evening, guys. Enjoy.
And I'm so thrilled to be here. This is my home, and it's a great place to have your children. We love having them here, and they're the reason we come to work every day. What I'm going to be sharing with you tonight is a preview of what our state testing looks like. It has changed over time, and this will be the current model of testing that the state requires of us for our 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students. At any time, if you want to get a copy of this presentation, I have a QR code, and then also down tiny at the bottom, there's the bit.ly or a shortened link, but you should be able to scan the QR code and pull it up as well. I tested it, so it should be working. CAASP, you might hear your kids refer to it as CASP, or you might have heard that discussion, stands for the Platform, the California Assessment Platform. Okay? There's 2 specific kinds of testing that your students will be participating in. There's Smart or Balanced, sometimes referred to as SBA, and that covers language arts, so reading and writing, and it also covers mathematics. And then if you're a lucky 5th grader or have a 5th grade student, in 5th grade they also take the California Science Test, and that covers science that has been instruction provided from 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. So that's just the big picture of the kind of testing that's coming up. First and foremost, this is only one measure of what your students can do. This is a measure of their academics currently. It does not describe all the other wonderful things that we know your children have inside and demonstrate on a daily basis. They are wonderful humans. This is just one opportunity to check in and see where they are in their learning in grades 3, 4, and 5. Just so you're aware, these are the dates, the windows that we will be giving these assessments by grade level. There are a few days afterwards, so as kids need additional time to finish their tests, because these are not timed, we do have extra time that students can come. They typically come hang out with me to finish up. If they have a few more questions to finish, they need extra time. There is that window in there. If they're sick one day, we're available to make up the tests. So our windows for 5th grade begin on the 30th, April the 30th. And it's a couple days early this year because, as many of you 5th grade parents know, our students have a wonderful opportunity to go to Dahle. So we want to make sure that we get them tested within the window and makeup testing completed before the end of the school year. So we have a deadline. They will be taking the science first, then language arts, and then math. And it's broken up, each is a different week. So we don't want to wear them out testing 5 days a week all day long. We want to give them time to relax. So that's April 30th through May 14th with makeup testing or additional time as needed. And our 3rd and 4th graders, lucky them, only have language arts and math to cover. And so for them, it will begin on the 6th of May, and we should be done with the formal testing windows by the 14th, leaving time for makeups as well. If you would like to read what the state provides in terms of what testing is, what does it measure, how do you access the reports once the kids have finished their assessments, there are parent guides linked here. The first one explains what the purpose is, who takes tests, why do they give it. There are these multiple languages here. These are PDFs from the state's website. You are welcome to click on them and read very short snippets, more information about why and who we're testing. Language arts and math is combined, and then science has its own separate description. The one thing I would like to point out is that up here, this science link right here, it's also a link to explain what kinds of things are being measured by the science test. So there's parent guides available to you. You can click on them directly and read them in your most comfortable language. So you're going to hear, either from students, from teachers, you're going to hear a lot of letters being thrown at you. The SBOB, the CAT test, the PT test. So what does all of that mean in regular language? There are two particular kinds of tests on the Smarter Balance. That's our language and our math tests. The CAT test is a computer adaptive test. There are multiple choice, there are fill in the blank, and these are the kinds of questions that students typically will do. These are the questions on the homework, when your students bring home homework. Those are the ones that kids are willing to do. It's the writing questions at the bottom of the math, and kids are like, I don't want to have to write and explain. That's a performance test. So they've been doing this on a regular basis all year long with their teachers. The computer adaptive test, what makes it adaptive is as students answer questions correctly, it scales up the difficulty or the depth of the question. So if you're a third grader and you're answering questions correctly, it's going to offer the students a more in-depth question. It's going to get more specific. It's going to dig deeper into the standard. It's not going to give them a fourth grade question. It's not going to give them a fifth grade question. It's going to drill down to see how deep they can go into that particular content area standard. So it keeps them within their grade level. It just makes the question more complex. It adjusts automatically if a student answers one incorrectly. It will dial a question back a bit to measure how deeply they understand the content area standard. So it adjusts based on its responses that are being provided. The student is scored on correct answers along with the level of difficulty of the question. So kids are getting very personalized questions, and the value of their score, it goes higher based on the level of difficulty. Questions about that so far? Okay, excellent. The performance task is more like a hands-on critical thinking task. For the language arts, it's going to be essay writing. The students will be presented with articles to read about a particular topic. Let's say they want to learn about endangered animals. So they will be given 2 or 3 articles to read. Oftentimes they're given a video, very, very similar to what we do with our writing benchmarks. And then the students will be given a question. They will then have to determine whether they're being asked to write a narrative or a story based on what they've read. They might be asked to form an opinion about the topic that they've read about, or they might just be doing an informational paper. So those are the 3 kinds of writings your children will be asked to do. These are all the 3 kinds of writing they're provided benchmarks on within our district. So they will have had exposure to these genres and plenty of instruction. Your teachers will be working with the students on what are the key words that they're reading to help them determine, is it an opinion? Is it informational? Is it a narrative? And hint, and kids, if you're still in the audience, it's usually bold in the question. They try to make it really obvious. Okay? For math, they're going to be given a question or a problem they need to solve. And if any of you had seen Stephen doing his homework earlier, it was quite fantastic. Students will need to show their work and explain how they solved the question. So they're going to need to demonstrate their thinking, and they will have a screen that will allow them to do that. Okay. For the science tests, they are given what are called discrete items. And those are the short answer, multiple choice, fill in the blank, matching questions. They're also going to be given some performance tasks where they might have to solve an actual science-based question. They might be doing some calculations on temperature change. They could be doing some calculations on, based on reading a chart, the patterns that they see in the chart. So they're going to be given performance task type questions. With the science, they have 2 or 3 sections of the multiple choice, those discrete questions, and then they have either 3 or 4 performance task questions. And it's individualized based on student, it's luck of the draw. It does cover earth sciences, life sciences, and physical sciences. So these are things that the students have been engaged in since 3rd grade. Would you guys like to see what an actual test looks like? Because that's the most eye-opening piece. Okay. On this slide here, there's a few different links that I want to share with you, just so you get the big picture of what it's going to look like within the classroom setting. And then we will click on the practice test links. And there's even a set of directions, so if you're at home and you want to practice with your kids, they can't say, oh no, I don't remember how to get on the test. Or if they've, which I have done this in the past, I give mini lessons in the classrooms. I say, go home and make your parents take the test. So they might come home and say, okay, Mom and Dad, you're going to have to do the kind of test that we do. So they'll model for you how to do these practice tests. And directions are right here where it says accessing the practice tests. One of the grade level teams at Highland Oaks provided the most updated step-by-step with pictures of how to do it. It is phenomenal. It's linked for you. I'm going to leave the testing strategies for the very end. They're very, very common sense and very simple. And these are also strategies that we teach regularly within the classroom that students are practicing in their journeys tests, in their regular SABUS or Engage New York assessments. They're practicing these strategies. In terms of the classroom setting, just so you're aware, students cannot have their cell phones in the classroom with them during testing. They must be turned off, and it's up to the teacher, and as parents, I want you to have an informed decision. Either you can recommend your child keep their telephone in their backpack and turned off, or if you prefer that the teacher has it on their desk turned off until testing is over, that's a discussion for you to have with your child's teacher, and they'll be giving you more information as we get closer. But we are not allowed to have phones on within the classroom. Students can also not have their smartwatches. Now in elementary school, kids are not using this magical device to call home and ask their parents the answers to their questions. This is a bigger problem in high school and in middle school. Thankfully not in Arcadia, because they're wonderful children. That being said, these are state expectations, so the watches need to be both powered off and outside in backpacks or held by the teachers. They can be turned back on, whatever the compliance procedure is for your child in their classroom at school. That will resume as soon as testing is complete. They can have the devices, they just can't be calling home in the middle of class, per usual. Okay? So just know if your child's device turns off and you track them that way, they haven't gone anywhere, they're just testing. All right, so let's take a look at what the practice test looks like. If you have students who are taking the LPAC or have a dual language, there's also practice tests for the LPAC, the English language assessment that they will be doing. All of that can be found here as well. And I'm sure Mr. Twang will be sharing more information with you should that apply to you and your students. What you want to do is you will go over here to the section that says practice and training tests for students. Right over here all the way to the right. And they're going to click on the blue button, Student Access. when we practice in class, we're always going to go in as a guest. Because that way they don't know if we get the questions right or wrong. Typically in the classroom, we will use these as models. We'll discuss the questions. We'll talk about how you select the best answer. But we leave everything set as guest. It'll sign them in. You're going to pick a grade level. Sure, that'd be great. Thank you. There's only a couple more clicks, I promise. Do we have any third, fourth, or fifth grade families in here? I'm just trying to figure out which grade level. Let's see, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Well, it's pretty even. Okay, let's go with, to be fair, many of these have the same questions for all grade levels. Go ahead and pick fourth just to hit in the middle. Thank you. And then you're going to pick Smarter Balanced. And practice tests are longer. Okay? The training tests are shorter, and those are ones that your teachers will be doing in the classroom. You're welcome to do them if you want at home, as many times as you want. And it's going to say there's 101 out of 99 tests. If you could go ahead and click Start Grade 4 ELA Practice. They're going to see a settings page. These are all predetermined, so if you want to go ahead and just click Select at the bottom, you don't have to make any changes to your platform. And this is the sound that haunts me, starting in March all the way till June. You have to play this lovely video. And while you can hear it on the computer back here, you're going to hear doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. The kids will come home singing it because they hear it every single day. As long as they can hear the sound and see the little dancing musical notes, we would click, go ahead and click the green button, sound and video. If you can't hear it, refresh it, try again. It's usually because headphones aren't plugged in all the way. And then go ahead and click on Begin Test Now. This is extremely zoomed in, which is fine. I want you to recognize the complexity of what students are seeing on the screen. They are being given, on the left side of the screen, a story or an informational article they're going to need to read, and they're going to be given questions on the right side. The best strategy I can offer all students is to read the questions first. See what you're going to be reading for. What is the purpose of reading for? In this particular question, having given this test quite a few times, I saw something that talks about inferencing, and we're going to have to find a sentence that supports making your best guess based on the information you already know. So then what I would do is, remembering that I need to draw a conclusion about the inference, then I go back and I read the passage. Read it 2 times. The first time, just to make sure you understand what the words are telling you. And if there's anything you're stuck on, you can try and clarify that. At home, ask grown-ups, go ahead and ask them, is there anything that's confusing to you? If you're able to explain to them vocabulary terms, maybe what they're asking, you can have those dialogues. We want students to read it at least once for the big idea, and then the second time again, you're reading to find the answer to the question. There is a lot of information on one page. Sometimes there are multiple questions on a page. So could you scroll down just a bit on the right side of the screen? So in this particular case, there's only one question. Can you click on the tab that says number 3 on the right side? I think that one has multiple ones. There might be shorter questions that ask you to explain a vocabulary term. But all of the questions that are tagged there across the top, with the laser dial, oh, there we go. Across the top there, these are all tied to the passage that the students have to read. So the questions are long. We have been building up our endurance to get through these, but that's what this is going to look like. Okay? In the classroom, your teachers will be modeling for them different tools that are available, how to zoom in and zoom out. When your children are at home, let them play with these different tools to see, is it going to help them stay focused and answer questions, or is it just something that's going to get in the way? Because the first day kids always like to press all the buttons and see what happens. If it's not going to be useful, we don't want to use it. And we talk about why it would be helpful or not. Just so you're aware, up in the very top right corner, there's something called Line Reader. It's in a circle, and it has a green line. If you click that, what it will do, and this, for me, if I get distracted, when I hover over what I'm reading, as I scroll down, the Line Reader will help me stay focused on the line I'm reading. That's especially helpful when there's a lot on a screen, so you can make sure that you're not skipping lines, you're not reading too fast or too slow. So those are things that are available. This is a lot on one page, isn't it? Your kids are ready for it. We practice this, but it is a lot. Any questions about what this looks like initially? I strongly encourage you to click on these at home, look and explore different grade levels. Click on and explore the LPAC testing, even if you have a child who's not taking the LPAC. Go ahead and look at the science questions. These are all public questions that have been released from the actual test. They're no longer used, sorry. Again, the directions for how to access the practice tests, there's picture-by-picture steps, easy to follow in a format for you. And then there's the link, and you can pick whatever kind of test you want to take in there. They're all there. In terms of the texting strategy, or testing strategies, read the question first, especially with reading passages, because if you know what you're reading for, you're going to be able to find that answer more quickly and more efficiently. The zoom in and zoom out, which is a little plus and a little minus, just like on your Chromebooks at home when you want to view larger and smaller, are available. If the kids need to make things larger, they know exactly how to use that. There's that line reader for me, and if you're a student who needs to help keep track where you are, I found that really helpful. There are often sections in a test where there's more than one question. They have put in this lovely tool this year where it will not let you go ahead if you haven't answered all the questions on a page, and it won't let you skip to the end of the test. You have to complete each one as you go, so there's no reason to worry that you're going to skip a bunch of questions. Your students will be practicing if they want to mark a question because they have maybe 2 answers in mind, and they want to go back and check it at the end. They absolutely can do that. With videos and audio pieces, they will be exposed to hearing a story, a very short conversation. They can listen more than one time. In fact, I highly encourage it. The first time you think you hear it, you're going to listen again. Again, if you've looked at the questions ahead of time, you know what you're listening for. You've primed your brain to be ready to answer those questions, and you're finding the answers efficiently. And always double check your answers. I know in class we always ask students, hey, did you check the work? Yes, I did. Did you put your name on it? Yes, I did. Where's your name? Oh. So we do encourage and we practice double checking our answers. I know I try and double check stuff, and then half the time I think I see what I did and then it's not there. These are our top test taking strategies. If you're going to be practicing these things at home, don't spend more than 20 minutes doing this. We will burn our kids out. Give them time here and there. Focus on 1 or 2 questions at a time. In class, they'll be getting plenty of time to practice where they are used to sitting and answering the questions. At home, we want them to be able to share the questions with you, ask you questions, and just get practice for the platform. Unlike me, the children learn these platforms and how to use all the tools much more quickly. They're digital natives. It's just natural for them. They'll explore and move right on. Any questions? Okay. Yes?
How many questions in the test?
That's a great question. You guys are lucky. Post-COVID, they have shortened the length of the test. In the language arts section, there are about 24 to 30 questions, the multiple choice on the CAT test. There are typically 2 or 3 short answer questions on the performance task, and then 1 essay writing that will cover the same articles they read for the short answer questions. So there's anywhere from 30 to 34 on the entire language arts part. In the math, they've shortened it. I believe it's around 30 as well. It might be shorter. Sometimes they sneak in a few extra questions. And then on the science, it really just depends on which segments they get. The science test seems to take longer simply because there's a lot of reading involved in it. But once they get to the math elements that's tied to the science, it tends to go faster. And they've changed that every year. So, and there's always a survey at the end, so they are very happy when they get to that survey. Other questions? Yeah.
Is the actual test a timed test?
It is not timed. We want our kids to feel comfortable answering the questions and doing their best thinking. So if you're in class, we typically give them from about 8:30, 8:45 until recess. If they need more time, let's say they get halfway done in the first hour and a half that we allot for them, they're still going to start the next test the next day. I will then pull them for makeup testing with other people, and we'll sit in my class and finish. They get as much time as they need. So there's no reason to panic about, I'm not going to finish. They will finish. They always do. All right. The best things as parents you guys can do. Number one, make sure they get a good night's sleep to the best of your ability. If they have devices that they take to bed, maybe start weaning them off of it now. Give them time so that they're sleeping, they're getting a good night's sleep. We want to make sure that they're getting a nutritious breakfast. If you're like me, or you have a child like me who is just not wanting to eat first thing in the morning, send them with a nutritious small snack that they can eat before we start testing. Because we want their brains and their bodies to be fueled, because these tests are exhausting. They can do it, and they'll come home and you'll see them so tired because they were doing a lot of thinking. So we want to make sure that they're well fed. Get them to school on time, because even as teachers, we panic. What happens if kids come in late and we've already started the test? Once tests have started, we cannot admit kids into the classroom. They have to wait for the next testing session to begin, and that's a security reason. So that's why we also don't start them until about 8:40, but we do need kids at school on time. Sometimes our teachers will do little snacks first thing in the morning. They do some warm-up activities, some relaxation activities to get them prepared for sitting and taking this test. As a parent, the best thing you can do is encourage your child and give them words of wisdom, something each day. Hey, you know what? I know you're going to do your best. If you get to a question you don't know the answer, make your best guess. Which one do you think could be the best answer? All I want to see is that you are doing your absolute best. Encourage them. Because as an adult, even reading some of these questions, they're intimidating. But we have brilliant children who can persevere and are capable of answering these questions, and the more you build them up, the prouder they're going to be to come home and say, wow, that was hard, but I did it. When they come home at the end of the day, say, what question did you think, or did you have a question that you thought was really easy? Oh, can you describe it to me? How did you feel taking your test today? Oh, you said you felt a little nervous. Did you try taking a deep breath before you answered those tough questions? Remind them of little things they can do to help demonstrate the regulation that they need. But being as positive as you can at home and right before the test, sending them to school with a full belly and a good night's sleep, your kids are ready and they're going to do an outstanding job. Last but not least, please remember this is only one measure of our students' academic success. We have so many other tools at our disposal here at Holly Avenue to demonstrate just how brilliant our children are, and all of them are brilliant. This is just one measure. And it's a measure of how we are doing as a school teaching your children. And it tells us what do we need to do better for next year and what are we doing really well at. And I'm proud to be a part of a school that is committed to making sure that we're developing well-rounded thinkers and well-rounded humans. If you have any more questions, I'll take them now. If you're shy and you would rather email me, or if you think of one when you get home, do not hesitate. Feel free to email me if there's something I wasn't clear enough on, or you have other questions that arise, let me know. I did have a family who asked if this would be recorded, and I'm going to try and do a recorded presentation to turn it into a video, and I will share that with our PTA to share out. Hopefully, using this new platform, Canva, it will work, so I will do my best to get that to everybody. Anything else I can answer for you before I let you get back to all your business? All right, well, parents, we're in the home stretch. You've done a wonderful job thus far. Just keep doing it, and we're going to have really successful student test takers. Thank you.